Namaste, everyone. Thank you for asking about lower back pain. Gives me a really good reason to put this video together, which I meant to do a long time ago. So, I am going to introduce you to two practices. One is the constructive rest, which is going to relieve the stress in our low back. It's not so much of a stretch, but it's like allowing it to rest. But obviously, the prepping will involve some kind of stretch, and the ending of it can involve some kind of stretch. And the second one is actually to strengthen it, because it's like very important to know that sometimes when we feel tight, it might not be because we are tight. It's because we are tired. They're very two different things. And if we don't have stamina, we don't have built strength to the muscles or to the body part that we take a lot of pressure or stress or weight, it actually makes us feel painful as well because we are overstretching it. So I'll do both. So you get to strengthen and also you get to release it. Ultimately, if you have done this long time already, you don't need any props. But for beginners, it's good to have something to help support. So you get used to the sensation of it, and then you get used to the stability. Then you eventually can take these away. So with the constructive rest, we will need either a belt, or I got this strap at Decathlon. It's like those elastic one and multi-purpose one. And for the strengthening later on, we can use a block or some kind of heavy books, or yeah, I think if you have a block, it's good enough. Something that's sturdy. This one is a really hard one, so we can squeeze and use. Okay, so let's get into the constructive rest first. Oh, by the way, make sure you're doing this on the ground or somewhere very hard, like the surface, hard surface, not in the bed. It won't have any effect. It will only actually make your back more painful because maybe it's just not gonna have enough support for you, right? So make sure we're gonna be on the floor or anything with hard surface. Then it means that you might need a jacket. Now, before we getting into that constructive rest, let's do some stretches. In this position here, bringing the left leg down, flexing the toes slightly, pointing towards the ceiling. Notice how your body is positioning right now. You probably feel the hips leaning more towards one side. Just allow that to happen, but always adjust it so you feel most comfortable. Once your left leg is settled, try to make sure your calves and the back of the thigh is touching the ground as much as you can. Bringing the right knee, right thigh close to the body and pull it in, allowing that left leg to be lifted. It's okay because it's just tight, but eventually it will loosen up. Pulling it really nice and tight. Feeling your right side of your low back is completely on the mat. And you can rock the leg left and right. If you have the capacity, you'll probably use the right hand to bring the right knee over to the right side and try to keep this left leg straight, and maybe try to press it down closer to the mat. And now the sensation is we are using our hand to bring the weight down, but meanwhile we make sure both of our low back is touching the mat as well. Just stay here for 2-3 breaths. And on the next exhale, we're going to bring this knee back to the center and use our left hand to grab hold of it. Hook your toes to the inner thigh of the left side and twist it over to the left, making sure this right shoulder blade's touching the mat. You can have your arm T-shape or cactus arm, Once you're in this position, don't worry about where that knee goes. Then you turn the head over to the right. Give it a very nice twist, and you feel the stretch over here. All the way down here. So I'd like you to do to inhale and see if you can bring that sensation of the breath down here. You can try by expanding the belly when you breathe in, and you might feel the stretch down there. And when it's expanded, just hold it. And then exhaling, just allowing the left knee to drop over to the left side even more. A couple of breaths here. Next inhale, we're going to slowly come back to the center. And then swap legs, straighten the right leg. First, settle the right leg, adjust your body so you're nice and comfy. And then bring the left side close to the torso. Like my right leg was very tight. It wouldn't want to come close compared to my left. I can so feel the difference. And it's totally normal. I put a lot of weight on the right side of the body. And it's constantly tensing, and it's never really relaxed. I put all the weight, everything heavy, just naturally. I will put the weight there. So now I'm paying for it. Same thing. Breathe normally here though. Use the nose. If you feel like you breathe very quick and shallow, maybe try to extend your breaths. Rock and roll left and right. On the next inhale, using the left hand to bring the left knee to the side. Opening up the inner hip, and try to adjust by bringing the right hip closer to the mat. So both of your low back is touching the mat. The entire right leg is touching the mat and flexing the right toes. On the next inhale, bring it back to the center. Swap hands, using the right hand to bring the left knee over to the right. And then maybe cactus your left arm. Turn the head over to the left, making sure both shoulder blades are touching the mat. And just stay here and feel. Notice where you're feeling the stretch. Like on this side, I don't feel so much on the side of my thigh. It's only the low back and maybe the back of the hips. Very, very different. Same thing, breathing into the tightness or the sensation of the stretch. Just hold it for a couple of seconds. And then exhale and allowing the right knee to drop even lower. And slowly come back to the center. Now bringing both knees, both thighs close to the body. Try to press the low back on the mat as you do this, and just hugging in the thigh close to the rib cage. Rock and roll left and right, massaging a little bit. Now you can move around, maybe lowering. You can feel the massage all the way down to close to where the coccyx is, and then slowly roll it back up, massaging that whole lower back area. You can even draw circles with your knees if that might help. So find your own liking, just allowing this massage to happen. That's why I said like heart surface is very important, because it will really give you that stability, the sturdiness to press. And oh, I feel this here. We want some more massage, so I just stay there. And here, so find that spot. I'll give you a minute to do this. And even if it's a little bit higher to the low back, it's all good. So when we're ready, we're just going to come back to the center and straighten the legs as much as you can. If they don't want to straight all the way through, it's totally okay. Just see how far. And keeping the low back touching the mat. And our next exhale, we'll just slowly lower those legs on the mat. Come into Shavasana for a second first. Release. Pay attention to how your low back's feeling. And then now, step your feet back up, having your knees pointing towards the ceiling again. And we're going to stay here for a while, for a few minutes. So you decide, or you can wait until your legs are feeling impatient, then you use the strap. If not, if you feel like, okay, you're comfortable here right at this point, you just stay here. So it's about 12-16 inches from the hip. Feeling the low back touching the mat. If you still feel like you're kind of bending or curving your back, see if you can consciously flatten it. Put your hand on the belly, or putting something heavy on the belly that might help. And just stay here, focusing on the breath. That means noticing how deep the breath goes. When you're inhaling, how far your chest is rising, and where does the breath goes before you feel like you want to change and exhale. And until what point you empty your lungs that you feel like you need to inhale. Just watching how you're breathing. As you watch your breath, you might feel some kind of sensation running through your low back and the back of your legs, or even all the way to the toes. Like right now, I'm feeling the energy shooting all the way to the middle toes of both feet. Or just notice any sensation in the body. Checking in if you're grinding your jaws, or if you're frowning, if your shoulders are not relaxed. Try to drop everything. every day is different depending on what our body's condition is, what our emotional condition is at that moment every day. But as this practice progresses, sometimes when broken through the barrier of the stress, the legs will start to shake uncontrollably, involuntarily. They could be like just like shaking like that, or one side is just weaker than the other, want to fall down and stuff like that. And that's when you might want to put the strap, and which is okay. If it wants to fall, don't fight it. Allow it to fall, come back to it, and then just stay in that position. And if they shake, try to relax, and every exhale, allowing the energy just flow through your low back and shooting out from the tailbone. Just let them shake, allow them to shake. Try not to control them, to stop them. That's because stress is being released. The gravity is doing its work and basically releasing the stress that we've been putting through in that body part. It's really magical. I always like to incorporate breaths, emotion, and energy into my body, and using that to work out, to heal, to self-heal. Helpful method is, as we inhale, we just bring in that very nice, healing, warm, light energy filling up, going through the nostril into the lungs. As it comes into the belly, it's just going to spread all over our body. Picks up everything in the body that's making us feel discomfort, dis-ease. And as we exhale, we just exhaling out and shooting that negative energy through the tailbone. And allowing the body to deflate and sink a little bit more into the mat. So let's try to do that for about 10 breaths at your own pace. Any thoughts coming through, just gently bring it back to focusing on the breaths and observing how the body is feeling. So we can usually stay here until we need to get up. And getting up, it's just slowly roll over to the right and just rest in the baby position. Then at any time you can just slowly push yourself up. But I want to incorporate this practice with the strengthening, as I said earlier. We keep our feet where they are, but with bridge, I usually like to step my heels a bit closer, so my fingertips just being able to touch. It's gonna give me that more space to curve up. And there's a very, very nice trick to lift it up to make it very useful. And this bridge will be a dynamic bridge. So we're going to be moving up and down. Now I would like you to try before using the brick. I would like to try first having your arms alongside the body, palms facing, and it will be something that's helping you to support, right? But not really pressing it so hard, but you're just keeping your rib cage nicely tucked in between your upper arms. And then we tilt the pelvis forward first, squeeze in the belly, squeeze in the glutes, use the glutes muscle and use your thigh to lift the lower back up. One vertebra by one vertebra. We do this as we exhale. And when we need to inhale, we're just slowly coming back down. One vertebra by one vertebra. And then quickly release just for a second. And then exhale, same thing. Lift, tilt the pelvis forward and lift using the glutes and the thighs. And inhale, coming back down. Notice the difference. Feel that your low back is actually working as well, right? One more time. Exhale, tilt forward, squeeze in the glutes and thighs, and lift up. And then when you need to change your breath, breathing in, coming down. So this time I'd like you to try one thing, is to bring the block in between the thighs. Just maybe actually in between the knees, whichever width that's comfortable for you. So now we try this time. As we come up and exhale, we use those knees to squeeze in. Of course, we still need to use the glutes, but feel the difference with this one. Exhale, tilting up, and then using the glutes and the knees, like you really squeeze the block with the knees. Now we stay here. Couple breaths here. It's not really about the height that we want to get, but is how we want to use those muscles to keep the legs up and the hips up and the lower back up. You can feel this whole area is actually working. And this is a really great support for that. I'm still squeezing, so I hope you are as well. The glutes squeezing, thighs squeezing, my knees are squeezing in. That's for sure. But everything else is very relaxed. You probably should start feeling the burn somewhere. And as we inhale, we're slowly coming back down from the upper back, one vertebra by one vertebra. And then just release for a couple of breaths here. I'm not sure if you feel the circulation going. I'm definitely feeling it. We're going to do this 2 more times. Normally, I would recommend you to do about 10 sets of this after a constructive rest. And then you can go back to constructive rest for a few more minutes and you can get out of it. So second round, exhale, squeezing the knees, squeezing the thighs and glutes. Push the pelvis forward and then lift. Stay here for 2 to 3 breaths, keeping that squeezing going on. It doesn't stop. This is going to help build the muscle strength for the legs and thighs and the low back. Next inhale, from the shoulder blades, rolling the spine down. I'm breathing very slowly, so you can do it at your own pace, but not too quick. And then just rest for a few seconds. I'm going to do one more round and pick up the pace a little bit. Exhale, squeeze in knees, thighs, glutes, and then lift up. Stay here for 2-3 breaths. Play around with the muscles. Like squeeze the knees more and see how that feels. Squeeze the glutes more and see how that feels. You can try to bring the belly in a little bit. See how that feels. Last inhale. Slowly roll. Little by little. Coming back down. Release. Take the block away. You're welcome to adjust your feet. Maybe just step one step apart, further. And come back to constructive rest. Now notice how your back's feeling. So here you can stay as long as you want. And then before we come up, we're going to do some stretch again. So this time we're going to come into Happy Baby. I'm sure you remember it. But Happy Baby, you can do half Happy Baby. So it's not all the way happy. It's just 50% happy. So how we do that is straighten one leg. And then we just bring the other. You can hook your toe with your index finger or the traditional, anywhere that's comfortable. Even this is good, just to give that a stretch. And if you enjoy the full Happy Baby, so just tap them down and making sure both sides of the low back is flat on the mat. Rock and roll if you not like. Very, very nice stretch. If you'd like to have a deeper practice, bring your feet together and just butterfly. You can see like really pressing my low back down. Always keeping the feet flex when we're doing anything with the knees pointing to the side. Rock and roll. And then bring them back to the center. And now lie down to Shavasana. See how you feel. And then slowly coming back out. And this is a full practice that you get to stretch and strengthen. And if you don't have a lot of time, you can set a timer to just do constructive rest for 5 minutes. And then do just 3 rounds of bridge. And then once you're done with the bridge, you can just do some stretches like bringing one knee close to the body and do a twist, or do rock and roll, or do Happy Baby. Those are really good for a low back. So the only way to make it effective is you really make it a discipline. I would suggest you to do it early in the morning and before you go to bed at night. Even if you can just make 10 minutes a day, well, no, 10 minutes each time. That'd be perfect. And if you have a day off and you have a lot more time, you can like really extend, do them a few more sets. So let me know how you feel after, maybe by Sunday. I'll ask you guys again and see how you feel if you're practicing this. And I hope this is helpful. And if you have any question, just put it on the chat group and I'll get back to you. Take care now. Thank you. Namaste.